This is the CineSnob Podcast.
Welcome to episode 207 of the CineSnob Podcast. I am Jerrod Kingery.
And I'm Cody Villafana.
Cody, I'm in my new studio / office / whatever room now.
Yeah.
And this camera is too wide because I don't really want to be able to see like three walls on here, but it's a lot of madness. I had a hard time deciding which posters to put behind me.
Yeah, that's a difficult decision.
There's 4 Transformers posters back there right now, so that was my biggest.
Is that an X-Men too?
Yeah, that's the an X-Men that came from the Bottleneck Gallery recently.
Mm-hmm.
My autographed Weird Al, UHF, and my stupid Power Rangers helmets. And
see a Wrath of Khan back there. Is that a stout Wrath of Khan?
Wrath of Khan, yeah. I've got the right beside it. You can't see it. Is the Tom Whalen Toy Story?
Oh, that's a great one.
I finally found. Anyway, yeah, this is it's fun. I've been
get your Dylan Panthers thing.
That is a screen used rally towel, or I don't know what they would call it, but a friend of mine was an extra in, I believe it's the season 3 finale of Friday Night Lights, where they win the state championship as the Dylan Panthers. And
oh, look, we have a thing coming in.
Nico Stitch says he likes my UHF poster. Thank you, Nico. That actually, I got that at the last Weird Al Yankovic concert I went to, which was the like his crazy like acoustic concert. Do you? Was
that the one where he was like not playing hits, like he was playing deep cuts?
Yeah, basically, it was the ridiculously ill-advised, self-indulgent tour or something.
Yeah,
and they were selling those posters at the merch booth, and they're literally like his personal collection. He said he had them in his garage, and then like they're kind of beat up a little bit, and so I bought the poster there, and I did the meet and greet afterward, and he autographed it. And I said, "Hey, these posters are great." He's like, "Well, thanks for buying one. My wife is happy I got them out of the garage." So. Yeah, my wife in particular didn't like that one. She was freaked out by his test pattern eyes, so it went from being in the living room to being out here. So that's the story of my UHF poster. Anything else going on with you, Cody? You've still got the what is that behind you now? Is that a new print behind your head?
Oh no.
There's the Ex Machina, and then what's the other one there?
It's Inside Llewyn Davis.
Oh,
that was one of the
was Oscar Isaac wall.
It's my Oscar Isaac wall, but that was a since I guess we're telling the history of our prints. That was a Mondo Black Friday purchase. That is a long sold out Mondo poster, pretty coveted too, and it was one of those things where the Black Friday things happening, and I purposely skipped ahead a couple pages to get ahead of everyone else to see if maybe I would find something that I could snag before someone. And that's the first thing I saw that I wanted, so I just grabbed it before I went home empty-handed.
What is who's the artist on that?
It's Rich Kelly.
Oh, very cool. That's I didn't know that poster existed, and I would imagine.
So it was one of the. So do you remember the year where Mondo did Oscar? They did an Oscar they did a print for every Oscar nominated Best Picture movie. So like there was a Zero Dark 30, there was an Inside Llewyn Davis.
I think it was a little before my time collecting this stuff.
Okay, yeah. So they did a series where they did every Best Picture nomination, and I believe that was one of them, if I'm not mistaken.
Was it before they would get the licenses, or is this post licensing? That seems like a pretty tall order to get a license for every Best Picture nominee.
But I think I'm wrong about that, because I don't think, as I said it out loud, I don't think Inside Llewyn Davis was nominated for Best Picture. So I don't remember. I might be up my own ass on this one, but I do know that they did that because I remember because they did a Zero Dark 30 that I eventually got. Yeah, here we go.
Man, talk about a movie that got torpedoed politically on both sides. Zero Dark 30. I believe that was my top movie was that 2012?
When
was Zero Dark 30?
Yeah, it would have been 2012. Yeah, it was my top movie too.
And it like everyone was able to read exactly the politics they wanted to into it, and it just destroyed it. Like you could see it as like pro-torture or like anti-torture, and it was just one of the weirdest takes on a film I've ever seen, I think.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, it was. It's weird, and there's a lot of interesting opinions on it, even now, and especially now. But yeah, I'm still obsessed with trying to figure out, because I think maybe it wasn't. I think it was just Oscar nominated movies and not Best Picture, because I'm looking back at the news story and there's like a Paranorman that was released during their Oscar stuff, and there was a Rango as well that was representing Best Animated Film. So I still think it was an Oscar thing. It's
at least an Oscar Isaac thing.
It is yes. Nice.
Anyway, yeah. So, anything else before we move on to reviews? We don't really have anything. We got all our Oscar talk out earlier this week.
Mm-hmm. And
it's
and it also, I guess, the numbers weren't great on the Oscar ratings, and our former president should still be current president, as we all know. It was stolen. The election was stolen. But Donald Trump had a field day with saying that the Oscars should not be so politically correct and boring. And I blissfully didn't know about that. Thank you for enlightening me. Where did he even get that message out? I think he has
a press release.
Yeah, I think he has been putting out press releases. God. Yeah. Let's see here. Yeah, Donald Trump bashes Oscars. Don't be so politically correct and boring. He emailed a statement to reporters.
Cool. So it was a press release.
Yeah.
Awesome.
It says, go back 15 years, look at the formula they used, and change the name back to the Academy Awards. Don't be so politically correct and boring, and also bring back a great host.
So what was Best Picture in 2006? That would have been, was that Traffic? Not Traffic. Crash.
In 2006?
Yeah.
Man, if it was Crash, he's maybe a little bit off on that.
Yeah, he's really fucked. Yeah, it was Crash for Best Picture. Yeah, so yeah, he's pretty fucked on that. I mean, not surprisingly.
You mean that he spoke without doing his research? I don't buy that.
Yeah, go back 15 years. Yeah, it was Babel. Who else was the best? What was the best pictures for? Yeah, Good Night and Good Luck.
Well, so Crash famously beat Brokeback Mountain and Capote as well.
Yeah. So let's see. Best Picture. Let's see what it was. It was. Come on, damn it! I gotta look this up because I'm looking at the Academy site right now. Yeah, I mean there would be an awful lot of stuff that would kind of fit into the politically correct category. Yeah, so the nominees for that year were Crash, Brokeback Mountain, Capote, Good Night and Good Luck, and Munich. So yeah, none of those I would call very patriotic films.
No, not really.
Maybe Good Night and Good Luck, but I doubt that. That's probably the closest. That's the, I mean, it's a Clooney movie, so he wouldn't have liked that one anyway. Whatever, man. I know I'm going to keep going to you for my Donald Trump news. Just I hope you keep me abreast of what's happening with him.
Well, so. I mean, as soon as he launches his social media network, I mean, we'll all be on there. I mean, we all know that. It's
I have a story for you after the show is over to tell you about someone mentioning Parler in my presence.
Oh boy.
Yeah. Anyway, anything else before we move on?
Now we can move on.
All right, let's go ahead and move on to reviews.
Here are this week's reviews.
First up, we have The Mitchells versus the Machines.
This is our last night together before Katie leaves, so let's savor this. How about we put our phones down and we can make 10 seconds of unobstructed family eye contact. Starting right.
This seems...
Put your phone down. Now. See, this is good right here. This is natural. Now, you're allowed to blink. It's just eye contact. Look at Mont's right there. That's the spirit right there, huh? Katie, it seems like you're not taking this seriously.
What makes you say that?
So this is an animated film that premiered on Netflix. It is from Sony Pictures Animation, produced by Oscar-winning animated film producers Chris Miller and Phil Lord. Of course, won their Oscar for Spider-Man Into the Spider-Verse. Made the Lego Movie, directed the Lego Movie, which famously got robbed of even a nomination. Cody, tell us about The Mitchells vs. the Machines and what you thought of it.
Yeah, well, so this movie has actually been relatively... I mean, it's been coming for a long time. I mean, it was originally supposed to come out in January of 2020, then delayed to September, then delayed to October, and then finally Netflix bought the rights to it and released it, and I believe it's who had it? It's Sony, right? It's a Sony Animation, right?
Yeah. I mean, I think they have a deal with Sony, and yeah, it's very branded for Sony. Like there's Sony, and there's a Sony. There's a whole lot of product placement in this. By the way, we have another comment from Nico Stitch. He said he showed his family tonight. 20 out of 10 would watch it again. So
yeah, and I think it is a good family movie. So basically, the gist of the story is that you have one story with a girl who's like an aspiring filmmaker and a creative, and she's about to go to film school, and she's spending the last night with her family, who she's kind of anxious to get away with because she has a contentious relationship with their father. And they end up deciding to take a road trip to her film school and drive across the country. And then you have like a parallel story that's going on where like a tech giant is trying to basically do an AI kind of like a Siri type thing that they decide to give a body, which leads to them uprising and doing like a robot takeover, and then the stories become intertwined there. And so I coming from the producing partners of Lord and Miller, it has that kind of same super kinetic energy, kind of hyperactive filmmaking style, even though they didn't direct it, where it's very colorful. There's a lot of on-screen graphics and stuff going on. It's very cinematic the way that it looks, and it's very high energy and rapid fire jokes. And I think the thing that I enjoyed the most about the movie is how funny it is and how kind of like specifically funny it is. Yeah, very very specific, like very subversive sense of humor to it. Like there's a lot of real like a lot of cutaway jokes and non sequiturs and stuff like that, and I think the cutaway jokes work really well. There's a couple things that made me like laugh out loud. There was that dog translator cutaway.
Yes,
that was extremely funny. There's a great scene too, where the little boy in the movie is talking to the girl for the first time and runs away and like smashes into a wall when he's running away. It's a very funny scene. I think the voice cast is great. I think actually my favorite part of the voice cast is Beck Bennett, who plays one of the robots, who I think does a really great job. It's him and Fred Armisen. There's a lot of SNL alum in the voice cast.
You've got Maya Rudolph as the mother. You've got Oscar winner Olivia Colman as the villain.
Danny McBride as the father.
Abby Jacobson is the main Katie, the daughter. You got a Conan O'Brien cameo. You have
Eric
Andre as the Mark Zuckerberg style. It's a really stacked cast, and it reminds me a lot of and not surprisingly, Into the Spider-Verse.
It's very similar to that, and I think it has a lot of like smart and funny commentary on sort of like attachment to your devices and reliance and dependence on screens. There's a lot to be said about creativity in the movie. I think for me, I was extremely entertained throughout the first half of the movie, and I think for me it runs out of steam a little bit in the third act. I think once they like finally get to like their final destination where they're going to try to kind of help everyone out who's being taken away. For me, the movie kind of I lost a lot of interest in it, and I think from that point forward, the movie has like 5 or 6 end points where like the movie could easily end, and then it just kind of keeps going and then going and then going. And I think it kind of suffers from that false ending kind of thing where like literally you have scenes where someone's like driving away and music's playing, and then there's like 2 scenes after it. So for me, I wish I didn't think that it lost steam, because I think the first half of it is really funny and entertaining. And definitely one of those movies where, you know, I think kids and families will enjoy it, but for adults and parents and stuff, there's really a lot there, especially if you're a fan of like subversive, weird, absurd humor.
Yeah, I agree. And I think it's, you know, it may be probably one of the timeliest movies, one of the timeliest animated movies that's been released in the last, I don't know, 10 years at least. It's very much, I guess, family movies overall. Animated movies are generally not, but it's very of the moment, very of the idea that all this stuff is being documented and people are on their phones and devices all the time. I think it's again, it's just really, really funny a lot of the time, and I think it has a very progressive mindset about itself and its storytelling and the characters, but it doesn't like beat you over the head with it. Like it just is the characterization. Like, you know, I don't think it's a spoiler to say that the daughter is LGBTQ. You know, she has a girlfriend by the end of the film. And the movie kind of hints at that throughout, but it doesn't make it the focus and doesn't make it some like cop out either. Not like you know, what was it, Endgame with
we're one of the Russo brothers.
We're gonna have our first LGBTQ character, and like it's some rando at a like a support group meeting. Like no.
That's always the most annoying thing. Like there was a Star Trek 2 where they made John Cho's character gay, but like the scene is like he's talking to his husband or something.
Yeah, you can't.
with no context.
Like there's no. Yeah, I mean, there's you know, and it's very well done, I think, in that respect. In that it doesn't, you know, it's subtle and it feels real for this universe, I guess. And you know, you don't have the. I think it's a bit of a. I think if I have the biggest complaint about it is it doesn't really quite set up the disagreement and conflict and difference of like lifestyle opinion that Danny McBride's character has with the daughter. I think they're just kind of on different wavelengths.
Right.
I think it, you know, initially it makes a little too big a deal out of something that's not that big a deal.
Well, it also implies a history that's not really shown or seen.
But I think it's otherwise. I think it's really funny, and I think it's just really delightful. I get what you're saying. By the end, it might overstay its welcome, but it's just a hair under 2 hours, I believe.
It's long.
That's a long movie, especially for an animated film. But you know, I think it delivers. I don't think it has any real false notes to it, and it doesn't really. You know, it doesn't feel pandering. There is an awful lot of product placement, but I think it feels real. There's a scene with, I think there was another clip I had or another trailer I saw that had, there's a big Furby segment that's that has some very weird dialogue that's really funny to me.
Yeah.
And then, you know, there's like a Waffle House branding and Shasta, and then there's lots of Sony stuff and referencing of Sony movies, but I think it all works because I think it all feels realistic.
Yeah, I think that it's sort of, I mean, the whole thing is anchored by this father-daughter relationship, and I think that is the thing it probably does the best at the end of the day. Is it like it might fumble the beginning of it a little bit by not giving it enough context, but by the end of it, I think it kind of checks off all the boxes. But yeah, I mean, like I said, I think the movie up like the beginning and middle I really enjoyed, but that the final bit of it I just kind of I wasn't that super into, and I didn't love the way that it hinges on like Danny McBride's character knowing how to use a computer and stuff.
Yeah, I mean, it's just very exaggerated.
Yeah, I didn't love that. But I mean, that being said, I laughed out loud like a dozen times while watching this movie. And it's got a lot of really funny stuff in it. And so, you know, just for that alone, I mean, you know, if I'm watching an animated movie and it can it can make me laugh, I can deal with the other stuff of it being, you know, for kids. So so it's a trade-off I'm willing to make.
And you know, this isn't your maudlin Pixar stuff. You know, this isn't like it's not going to really make you feel sad at the end of the day.
No.
Anyway, what's your grade for The Mitchells versus the Machines?
I give it a B, a solid B. I think had it maybe been cut down 15 minutes or so, and maybe taken one of those endings and ended it there, or you know, cut out some of the false endings, it might have been a little bit better and flowed a little bit better. I do think that it is a bit long-winded, and I think you can tell. That being said, it's a really fun time.
Yeah, I'm gonna go B+. I really liked it a lot. I think the only thing keeping it out of the A territory for me is the length of it. I think it's just it's a little too long, and you know, it's not. I don't think it suffers greatly for it, but I think it does feel a little stretched out at the end. But this is available now on Netflix, and I think pretty safe to say the immediate front runner for best animated feature, unless something. I don't know. I don't know what's up for Pixar this year, but
Luca
seems a little more kiddie, so I don't know. We'll see. But it's a great film. Anyway, let's move on to our next movie, Without Remorse.
On your feet.
Senior Chief John Kelly is more dangerous and effective than any man we have in the field. The only thing he has more than kills are medals.
Somebody would like to talk to you.
John, if you're done in there, we need you to get back in the field.
Senior Chief Kelly, it appears you have a common enemy with the United States.
They took everything from me. My family. I got nothing left.
Their plan is a series of strategic attacks
all over the world.
We have to respond.
I need to be on that team. Lieutenant Commander Greer, you lead the mission.
That prison scene in the trailer that we just saw is edited 10 times better in this trailer than in the film. It's so much better in this trailer. Anyway, this is the latest Tom Clancy adaptation, the first solo adaptation for the John Clark character, who I don't know how much you've seen of the Jack Ryan stuff. Zero?
Oh, well, okay, I've seen
you saw Shadow Recruit, right? I never saw. That's the one I've never seen. But in the previous films, of course, the big three from the 80s and 90s were The Hunt for Red October, Patriot Games, and Clear and Present Danger. And in Clear and Present Danger, this character was played by Willem Dafoe. And then in the Ben Affleck reboot, Sum of All Fears, it was Leah Schreiber. And then now we have Michael B. Jordan. And this film was originally supposed to be released theatrically, premiered on Amazon Prime. Coincidentally home of the Jack Ryan TV series that is for now unrelated, starring John Krasinski. But this is out there in the world. Cody, what did you think of Without Remorse?
Yeah, well, I like you said, and like I said, I have no real context for any of this Tom Clancy stuff. I know that my grandfather loves Tom Clancy, so that's about all I could say.
Look. So I just want to clarify. I've tried to read the books, and they're so dense. There's a very particular type of person that's a fan of these books. You know, they're very conservative, I should say. but like that
checks out.
80s, but that 80s conservative, not
Right.
like the you know, that like true anti-communist conservative, like fiscal conservative, not this, you know, identity politics shit that we're in now. But anyway,
yeah, I think that's post Tom Clancy type
Yeah,
stuff.
yeah.
But yeah, so I don't have any real reference point. Haven't played the video games or anything like that either. Rainbow Six and stuff. So, you know, I don't have a lot of context for it. So for me, what this is just kind of like a generic revenge movie kind of thing. And really that's what it boils down to. You know, the gist of the movie is that Michael B. Jordan's character is, I guess, a retired, at that point, Navy SEAL, or at least transitioning out of it to do private security at the beginning of it. So I don't know if he was still active, but I imagine not.
I think he was still a Navy SEAL because he was doing CIA work. I don't know. Because he was being, I don't think he was a private contractor. I think he's still a SEAL because he's being
Yeah, anyway.
He's still in the Navy, whatever. Yeah,
so anyway, they carry out a mission in the beginning of the movie, and then one by one, the people involved are picked off, and then he, and including his pregnant wife. And so he wait.
Sorry. I'm not laughing at that, but I am laughing at the first kill of his team.
Oh yes,
Is it dude just getting plowed?
Who apparently can't hear the van coming.
This is a Navy SEAL.
Yeah,
and he just gets creamed by a van
while he's taking out the trash. Yeah, his training failed him there, I think. But yeah. So he decides to exact revenge, and in doing so gets involved with kind of covert missions in Russia, and it's basically a series of scenes of different characters walking right into setups. like I think it happens like 3 or 4 times where they enter a situation and they've been set up, and so you know, it's extremely generic and disappointing. I think it actually starts out strong with a couple of cool action sequences, but it is kind of that sort of like militaristic, you know, secret operations type of thing where there's a lot of silencers and guns and shit. It's there's a lot wrong with the movie, I think. First and foremost, I think there's a lot of poor acting and perhaps some poor casting choices. Unfortunately, you know, I think Michael B. Jordan is fine, but I think everyone knows that he's capable of a lot more than he gives here. I feel like Jamie Bell is sort of a very generic performance. Jodie Turner-Smith has some really bad line readings in the movie, unfortunately.
The problem is she looks like she's 21 years old, and she's supposed to be like this lieutenant commander in the Navy.
Yeah. Well, and I'll get to another cast member in a minute, but you know, there's some weird casting stuff. I think that the story is sort of executed like it's a very oddly constructed movie, because the movie goes straight from like I guess you could call it the climax section of the movie, and then the third act is just a whimper. Like the third act sort of wraps itself up in a matter of like 10 minutes, and it's very anticlimactic. It's convoluted, doesn't make a lot of sense. And also, here's the thing, and this might be a spoiler, but it's fine. There is a certain actor in the movie where if you've watched any movie in the last 15 years,
I know exactly what you're talking about.
I think you could figure out this movie to the T if you've watched any movie with this person in it for the last 15 years, because it's the same goddamn thing. Where
let's just say this guy is yeah, I mean you know exactly what's coming, and yeah, go ahead and finish. I got something to say about that.
Yeah, well, I mean, it's just completely obvious. I mean, like, the second he shows up in the movie, you're like, all right, I got it. Like, I know how this is going to play out. And like I said, the third act just really bothers me. Up until the third act, I think it's kind of boring. I think a lot of these like sequences that happen unfold at a really slow pace. But then when everything kind of speeds up and there's a moment where like you find out what's actually going on, and then it's resolved within about like 5 minutes of screen time. Like it just like that. It's over. And so I feel like the execution of it is really poor. So, I mean, I think the worst sin that it commits, though, is that it's really boring and not very enjoyable.
I mean, you're not going to know this reference either, but this is almost the plot line of Star Trek VI.
Jesus.
Where that film was an allegory for the end of the Cold War. Believe it or not, that was a Star Trek movie, and the idea was that that the Federation needed enemies, and it functioned better, and the militaristic thing functioned better when there was an enemy, and that's the setup of this. Essentially, is that they're kind of reigniting a Cold War with Russia. But on a really tiny scale, which is very strange.
Yeah.
And then, which somehow involves Brett Gelman.
Oh man.
Anyway, there's a lot to this movie. So these movies are, and these Tom Clancy things have always been, more about sort of the political intrigue than the action. And this is, if you go back to Clear and Present Danger, which is probably the best known of the Harrison Ford films. The idea is that there's these covert wars happening all the time, and the Ritter character is also some wormy guy. That's who Jamie Bell plays, is the CIA deputy director, Robert Ritter, and that's who's like the wormy guy in this Clear and Present Danger. So it's always been about the Jack Ryan stuff has always been about the everyman analyst versus these bad actors. The John Clark character was a bit player before, and was just sort of like this psychopath guy they could call on to like clean shit up. Clancy gave him this origin story in Without Remorse, and I think this sanitizes it even more because Michael B. Jordan is so likable. When you have the previous films, you have Willem Dafoe and Liev Schreiber, both guys who can play kind of deranged lunatics pretty well, and did in various forms. I just think he's too noble, and I don't know that his revenge is really. It doesn't really feel. I don't know what I'm trying to say here. It doesn't really feel earned, I guess. Like it doesn't really feel like he's. Like he has his vengeance on one guy, and then he just goes right back and joins this team again.
Yeah, no, I don't think that he's ever experiencing catharsis for anything that he's seeking. And also, maybe he does, but it's not as if the movie gives it any room to breathe anyway, because it just wraps up so quickly.
Yeah, and there's one interesting thing I think in the movie was he has this sort of dream sequence where after his wife has been killed and it looks like he's having a flashback to them, I guess making out deeply on middle of the woods. It was weird. And then she gets pulled away, like horror movie style, Sam Raimi horror movie style, which was interesting. And if the film had like shown him being more haunted by this stuff, then it might have had some depth. But as of now, it doesn't feel like anything. And there's some stuff that's just so poorly directed and feels cheap. For example, we'll mention him again. Guy Pearce is the Secretary of Defense, a cabinet level position, which I don't know where he is in line for the presidency, but pretty damn close. And apparently he can just get in a car with someone. Like this guy should have security detail. Like it's so dull at times that it's really disappointing.
Yeah.
Anyway, anything else to say?
I don't think so. I mean, I like I said, I won't say that every action sequence is terrible. But there are, because I think that the beginning has some legitimately cool stuff. But like the prison scene that you're in there, I like that whole sequence is strange too, because it's like the U.S. Marshals come in at exactly the right time to swoop him away in the middle of all of that stuff.
Well, and what was going to happen?
Right, I don't know.
Yeah. Anyway, it's just there's so much potential here that was left, unrealized, and I think if in the hands of a better directorial team, I don't know if this director was the first time director or not. I know it was written by Tyler Sheridan of what is that movie?
Well, he's done. Tyler Sheridan's done a lot. Tyler Sheridan's a good writer, and which is unfortunate.
And he created Yellowstone, and what's the?
Well, he's done Sicario and Hell or High Water, and
anyway, what's your grade for Without Remorse?
C- for me. I just a really boring experience, and also you can show the comment here in a minute. We have someone who agrees with us, but I give it a C-. There's nothing super redeeming here, and I think Michael B. Jordan can do this kind of movie, and I think should do this kind of movie, but it needed to be way better than it is. Yeah,
let's show the comment from Nico Stitch. He said he watched this Monday and he's already forgotten most of the scenes in it.
I will buy tomorrow.
I think we both finished watching it a couple of hours ago, and it was a struggle to get through. But yes, C- for me too. It's a big disappointment. As someone who's been a fan of these movies, it's disappointing that it's so just generic and boring. All right, let's go and move on to our last movie, What Drives Us.
All of the biggest bands in the world started out like this.
You got to get in the van if you want to make it in this business.
I wanted to be with people that wanted to make music, record, and get in a van and go experience the world.
We would hit the stage in between, like those long drives. And when we were doing those van tours, it was us against the world.
It's the greatest thing you could ever do. I just felt like we were this roaming band of gypsies. We show up and we rock you.
I've actually never toured in a van.
Okay.
So, can I go now?
Yes.
What happens in the van is the foundation of who we become.
You just can't find anything like pulling into a truck stop at 3 in the morning.
It creates this unique perspective that we all share.
You have to go through hell and high water, to put it lightly.
Am I willing to give up everything for this dream?
People just want to kill you for the color of your skin. It was crazy. You have to go till your throat's dead.
I want to say a couple things about this trailer because I didn't watch the movie. First of all, does it piss you off when multimillionaires like Dave Grohl have shitty cars that they fuck around in, like at the beginning of that trailer?
I mean, there's a reason why he's in that van, but yeah.
Okay, we'll get to that in a second. Also, is Lars Ulrich never not just a total prick?
No, he's not.
and
that one I can answer for you.
And third, is the No Doubt guy living in that same van? Anyway, I didn't watch this movie, but it's clearly a documentary on touring musicians. Cody, tell us about What Drives Us.
Sure. So it's this is a movie directed by Dave Grohl. This is Grohl's second feature-length documentary. He's sort of transitioned. I mean, he's still doing everything he was doing, but he's become a documentary filmmaker in that he made Sound City a few years back, which is a great documentary, and he did the doc series on HBO, Sonic Highways, and now this movie. So the reason he's in that shitty car is that is the first ever touring van that the Foo Fighters had back in 1995, and
why did he need that in 1995? Was he not rich in 1995?
No, I mean, at that point, and they go into it a little bit of like he didn't want any perceptions because
okay.
Yeah, it goes back to him and his complex feelings of being in Nirvana and then having it all taken away. So,
with a gunshot.
Yes. Yeah, so this is a strange documentary in that it's enjoyable to watch, and I think a lot of the interviews are really good. He talks to The Edge from U2, and he talks to Flea from Red Hot Chili Peppers, as you see in there, some with Lars, and then he also spends some time with some new up-and-coming bands who are touring in a van right now. So, like, there's a band called, I can't remember the name of them, but there's a band that's like younger kids or younger guys who are touring with their dad, like their dad is driving them around in a van around the country. And the thesis of the movie gets really muddy, and I think it's the biggest problem of the movie, because while it's enjoyable to hear these musicians talk about their story, the movie is ostensibly about like touring in a van and in that experience, and how like every band, big and small, had to start at some point in a shitty little van touring the country, and then kind of, you know, blows up and they get to, you know, their experience changes. But it sort of starts morphing into people talking about like why they're into music and why they're in bands, and like the what drives us becomes like what drives them as musicians. So like, you know, Brian Johnson from AC/DC talking about, you know, touring in a van, but also talking about like what inspired him to be a musician and stuff like that. So when it starts to get into, when it starts to lose its focus a little bit, the message of it being about touring in a van and stuff like that is lost. So it's like this mix of like funny tour stories from everyone, you know, like you're seeing in there, to like Annie Clark from St. Vincent, to, you know, just kind of people in general talking about what drives them to be musicians and to stay musicians. So while, like I said, while the interviews are enjoyable and the footage is enjoyable and it's cool to see like old, like, you know, Foo Fighters circa 1995 touring around in a shitty van, you know, going to small gigs and stuff like that. I don't really know what the point of the whole thing was. I think the message gets kind of lost.
Can I so to go back to that, just a question:
Mm-hmm.
is there ever any sense that the people that do it as an affectation, let's say Dave Grohl in 1995 with the Foo Fighters, may not, arguably not as successful then as he is today, but clearly had some success from Nirvana, that he decided to tour in something to not be, you know, to not have any sort of pretense, I guess, compared to some band that doesn't have the capability of affording anything more. Is that disparity ever addressed, or is it just sort of like, haha, some of these people get to do it for fun and some have to do it because, you know, they don't.
Well,
have
no, the implication was that I mean, and I don't remember the reasoning exactly, but like that wasn't an option for Grohl. I mean, because Grohl was touring with the full band with like 4 other people, and at that point, they either like because for a while when Dave released Foo Fighters, people did not know it was him, right? So like they gained popularity over time, and then people found out over time. It was a very kind of like a secret project for him. But I don't know that at all. I don't believe that they had the means to like have a really expensive tour at that point in time. But for everyone else, there's no disparity really, because, you know, you're talking about, you know, bands like, you know, Red Hot Chili Peppers, for example, who like start from nothing, or like the No Doubt one is a really interesting one, because they talk of like the guy who you see in the clip there talks about how like they all packed into a van at once, and then they moved up to having like 2 vans, one with the crew and then one with them, and then 2 buses, and then eventually every member had their own tour bus, is what he says. And so like and so talking about how like it all happened in phases, and everyone kind of talks about like okay, I get like it. He talks about how much of a game changer it is when they were finally able to take a shit on the bus, like and so like him and Dave Grohl talk about that, about how huge that was for them. And so
I would assume that's when you have your own bus, right? Because you're not supposed to shit on the bus when other people are on there.
Yeah.
Okay.
But it is interesting to hear, and like it's legitimately interesting too, because like you hear like The Edge talk about U2 starting off and how terrible they were, and how they all met in like high school and just decided to carry with it. Or like with Lars, Metallica is the only band that Lars has ever been in, right? So like it just has these kind of cool origin stories and stuff like that. But it's just not really about touring. Like you see scenes of people talking about what inspires them to be a musician intercut with like everyone has a story about how they almost died driving in the snow somewhere, right? So like you hear that, or you hear like Ringo talking about how the Beatles would never stay anywhere overnight. They'd always drive to their gig and then drive home that night. And so he talked about how like one night the windshield came off of their car and they all had to like stack on top of each other to stay warm or some shit like that. So, you know, there's the tour stories in there. There's also them talking about being musicians, and none of it's boring, but it's not cohesive. And I think that's, you know, it doesn't ruin the movie or anything, but I don't think that it quite gels the way that Dave probably wanted it to.
So, what's your grade for What Drives Us?
My grade for What Drives Us is a B-. I would recommend it. I think it's enjoyable, especially if any of those musicians that I mentioned you're fans of. It is interesting to hear them talk about that kind of stuff.
And where is this available? I noticed it's not like you have to like log into something else.
Yeah, so this is part of something called the Coda Collection, which is an add-on to Amazon Prime. It's like a $5 a month add-on. Which is like it's a bunch of music documentaries and concert films and stuff like that. That's like an extra add-on package.
All right. Okay, well, you can watch that on Amazon if you have that. That's going to do it for this week. What's coming out next week, Cody?
It's a good question. I don't know, but I also might not be here. We might be skipping next week. I think I'm going to be out of town.
Look at you.
So I think the VOD release that we were going to cover was Street Gang, the Sesame Street documentary.
Oh, yeah.
It was released theatrically, but I believe that it's coming out on VOD next week. If you're
going to be gadding about the country, then we can.
Yeah. So
are you going to like go see a hockey game or some horse shit?
I wish. No. I'm going to be in between jobs, so I'm taking a quick weekend beach trip.
Look at you. Yeah, I'm going to be in between jobs next week too. Look at us. But I'm staying home. I'm not going to the beach. You could be living salt life again.
I will be salt life. I didn't get the same place, but I did get the same place on the same canal. So I will be living that salt life.
Listening to Margaritaville all day long. Well, okay, then we'll skip next week then. If you want to reach us, you can email us at podcast@cinesnob.net. You can find us on Twitter at CineSnob, Facebook CineSnobNet. Other podcasts, ReMCU, haven't done one in a long time. The Bones of Corinth stream that are still out there. By the way, is it over? Have you gone out?
The pandemic?
How much have you gone out since you've been fully vaccinated? I know you did your big movie thing.
Just being at a theater. I haven't really done anything else. I am going to some baseball games in a few weeks. The
Rangers?
Yeah, I'm going to the Rangers because the Astros are in town. And don't know how I feel about being in a fully capacity stadium, but
is it gonna still be full capacity? Because last I heard they only did that for opening day.
So my understanding is that, and this could be wrong, but my understanding is that there are socially distant sections, like there's like 5 or 6 socially distant sections, and the rest of the place is at full capacity.
Oh, so it's like they're
so like if you want to be a pussy, you can sit in the social distance section.
Say there, you pussy. Go sit in the social distance. That's my Dallas accent.
Yeah.
Excuse me, or Arlington, I guess. Yeah, we walked around downtown, which was weird. There was a lot of people. And then like today I went to where the hell was I? Oh, like went out to eat. I went to a Torchy's, and it was just like business as usual. It's so crazy.
Yeah, I went to a Torchy's when I went to that movie day, and I just sat outside. But it was weird being like that was the first time I'd stepped foot in a restaurant, even to pick up to go food.
Oh, really?
In like a year. Yeah, I hadn't even done that.
Well, we've been doing that for a long time. We've been going where you can be socially distanced, but yeah, it's weird when it's all kind of cramming together again. But
I was thinking about going to a Corpus Christi Hooks game when I was in Corpus this weekend or this upcoming weekend. But
is season started yet?
It starts this week. Yeah, it starts at the end of the week. Minor league baseball starts. So I will probably be going to Wolf Stadium quite a bit this time around, which, as anyone who lives here knows, beautiful, gorgeous stadium. Top of the line, top notch.
Have you ever been to the Dell Diamond here in Austin?
I've been once. Yeah,
it's a very nice little stadium. It's like a little. It reminds me of Minute Maid Park a little bit.
Yeah, like, the field at Corpus, Whataburger Field in Corpus, is really cool. I really like it there.
Are they ever going to get a new stadium in San Antonio? I remember that was a push a couple of years ago to get a new.
So there was a push to do his downtown stadium when the team moved to AAA, and now they're not AAA anymore. It lasted like one season. So no, I don't think so. And why would you move when you have such a gem like Wolf Stadium in a great area? It's beautiful.
Look, man, I don't have a problem with the Wolf. It is exactly what it needs to be. I think it sucks when they get too nice in like a. This is gonna sound stupid, but when there was this is gonna sound misogynistic a little bit too.
Oh boy!
I promise you, it's not. I went to a WNBA game once when San Antonio had a team, and the idea that they charged like NBA prices for food and other amenities was ridiculous, because it's no matter what you say, it's on par with a minor league. It was, at least at that point.
And I understand that, but because I went to a lot of Rampage games back in the day too, and they played in the AT&T Center. The thing about it though is that the AT&T Center is like the nicest arena in that league, which is it's probably the same for the WNBA, which was that the Silver Stars were playing in the nicest arena in the WNBA in a lot of cases.
No, I think they all played in NBA arenas at the time.
I don't know about that, because I think that there were some franchises that didn't have NBA cities there.
I think they all started in NBA cities, and then like Seattle when the Sonics left. Regardless, look, nothing against the play or the team sport of it, just the atmosphere of it. When there's 3,000 people there and you're paying $8 for a beer, like it's a little bit of a. I think
ridiculous. I think that's across the board. I mean, you're going to be paying that much at a missions game too. I mean, these days.
No, I would go on dollar beer night or whatever.
Oh yeah, well that's. Go ahead.
Did you ever go to the what was it? There was an arena football team there right before I left. What was it? The San Antonio, not the Commanders, the Force or something like that.
I never went to arena football. I didn't go see the Commanders either.
That was the AAF.
AAF, yeah.
That it was like started out spectacularly, and they were like, "We're out of money, sorry."
Yeah. Well, yeah. One day everyone came to the arena, and the doors were on the locks, and they couldn't get in.
What was that team? It was was it the Talons?
The Talons was arena, yeah.
Yeah, okay, and they were having like every game was dollar beer game. It was like the only reason to go.
Shit, I mean, I remember. There's no better mix than minor league hockey and cheap beer. Like if you can find that mix, you're golden. And I used to go on dollar beer nights for the Rampage. But I really wish that the Freeman Coliseum is otherwise occupied right now. But I wish that they would bring minor league hockey back, because I think we've talked about this a number of times, and people are probably tuning out by now. But there was that time where San Antonio had the Iguanas and the Dragons at the same time, and like there was hockey at the Freeman like 4 and 5 nights a week, and like it was great. I remember going as a kid all the time.
The Iguanas flagman lived in my old neighborhood.
The flagman?
The flagman. He still.
Holy shit.
When I moved out in 2015, he was still driving like a truck around that said like Iguanas flagman.
God damn. That's holding on to something for like 15 years.
Yeah, because they wrapped up in like 2002, right? Like right when the AT&T Center opened.
Yeah. Would have been 2002.
I wonder if he still has the flag.
I don't know, but that dude was famous. I think his cardio may have failed him by the end of the run there.
I forgot, and I by the way, I was going to wear, and I forgot to take it out of the closet. I was going to wear my San Antonio Texans t-shirt that I have today, and I totally forgot.
Damn.
My favorite story about that, and I may have talked about this before. Do you remember any of the San Antonio Texans stuff, the Canadian football team?
So vaguely, but I do remember it a little bit.
So my favorite story of it is that they played in the Alamo Dome. And this was the effort of the city to, get a full-time tenant for the Alamo Dome. It was when the CFL expanded way south.
Mm-hmm.
And I remember there's a story that this guy, the very first home game they played, I think a field goal or something went into the stands somehow, and this guy went to catch it and fell from the upper deck.
Oh, Jesus.
And the kicker was he wouldn't have gotten to keep the ball anyway. They would have made him give it back. That's how cheap and shitty the AFL was. So
yeah, I was looking at their Wikipedia page, and again, it's funny because football always does well here. They averaged 16,000 people a game Like it all, and like the Commanders had a huge attendance, but yeah, it's never gonna happen.
Yeah,
never gonna happen.
And y'all aren't getting San Antonio's not getting an MLS team either because it's here now.
Missed out on MLS, and that was a huge swing too. You know, I will say that stadium is pretty cool, Toyota Field.
I've never been there.
I
had a lot. I had a lot of coworkers that would work the gigs there when it was the Scorpions.
Mm-hmm.
And I know they had a plan to build out for MLS.
Yeah, so the stadium is expandable. So they built in with it the ability to expand to an MLS size stadium. They put a lot of effort into that, and they just whiffed on it big time.
The MLS clearly wanted to come to Austin, by the way. I don't know if you followed that saga, but they were moving the team from Columbus, and then they just moved that owner and gave Columbus a new team. So it was like, whatever, bye. And then, So I plan on actually going to an MLS game here eventually when they start playing in June here. After all the years of being soccer reverse.
Where are they playing?
What do you mean, currently?
Well, what stadium are they going to play in? Or did they build a new one?
Oh yeah, it's right by my my current place of employment. It's in North Austin. It's called the Q2 Stadium. It's awesome looking. I mean, they built it from the ground up because there was nowhere to play. It was a big stadium fights are always funny because it's a foregone conclusion that it's going to happen when it gets to a certain point in a city, and this is one of those things where like they fought over it for like low income housing for years and like whatever, man. This was a vacant lot in an industrial area. Like the whoever the owner is built the stadium, like paid to build the stadium for like a free lease, and then he like gives it. There's some agreement where he like gives it back to the city for $1. I mean, it's all tax breaks and shit too. But anyway, we have a soccer stadium now, and looks pretty cool. So, all right. Anything else before we go?
No, I think we delved too far enough into outskirts, minor league sports. Yeah.
All right. On that note, I'm Jerrod Kingery.
I'm Cody Villafania.
Thank you for listening to the CineSnob Podcast. To read reviews, interviews, and more, visit cinesnob.net. See you next week.